The difference between a good singer and a great singer is actually very simple. Good singers stop at good enough, but great singers are obsessive about working on what's holding them back. It all comes down to these 3 must-follow habits that every great singer does.
Ooh, let's go!
Everyone wants a new trick or technique to help improve their singing dramatically. I mean, it's human nature. We all want a quick fix. But what if the most important advice that you can get about singing is actually the most obvious? Today, I'm going to share the 3 most important habits that every great singer can develop using stories from real students who worked on these things and actually transformed their voices as a result. First, let's meet Dave Stewart. Dave is a fantastic guitar player and songwriter who'd been playing guitar his entire life. When he got invited to sing in a duo with a woman, they were gonna do kind of like a duet kind of thing, like the guy and girl singing harmonies together while he played the guitar. Now, before Dave got invited to sing in this duo, you could say he had absolutely zero confidence in his singing ability. As a matter of fact, growing up, people would say, like, grab the microphone away from that boy. But now that Dave has been invited to sing in this duo, he starts getting really nervous, and so he goes to YouTube and watches a ton of different YouTube videos on singing better. What he found out was that this E4, this mum, that was the highest note that he could sing. And if an E4 was the highest note he could sing, that means that he's a bass. But eventually, after not being able to hit that note with anything else but a super strainy tone, Dave got really frustrated and he decided to take a lesson. Within 1 hour, Dave added 7 notes to his vocal range, nearly an octave.
Is that an E4?
It is, yes.
Okay.
Now you got all the way up to the B4.
I told you my range, that's what I thought was the top of my range.
Yeah.
E2 to an E4, but now I'm finding out that was just the top of my chest voice.
Exactly.
And more importantly, by the end of the lesson, he knew that he was a tenor, not a bass. How did we do that? Well, it's pretty simple. I actually listened to him sing something, and I told him what was holding him back. In Dave's case, I could hear from his singing that he had never actually sung in the top part of his voice, what we call the head voice. But as soon as we started working on accessing that top part of his voice, his vocal range opened up dramatically. Okay, take a listen to Dave.
To the place I belong.
Hey.
To the place I belong. West Virginia. I'm hitting it way easier than when I first started.
What happened? What actually made the difference? Well, he got so confused watching all these different videos on YouTube and thought that, oh man, well, I guess my voice just tops out in an E4. And then he looked at, the vocal range charts and stuff like that and decided that he was a bass. That must mean that he was a bass. Dave learned this lesson the hard way. But once he actually found out what was holding him back, he was able to transform his voice. The first habit that all singers need to create is the most obvious. You have to be willing to share your voice with someone outside yourself. I mean, you're a singer. You're gonna have to share your singing with someone besides yourself. But more important than singing in front of others, you have to make sure you get the right people to hear you. Choose someone you respect to listen to you, and maybe someone who's been on the same road as you, not just your mom. Think about it for a second. How can you start sharing your voice with other singers that you respect? Can you join a choir? Maybe record yourself and share the recording with a singer that you admire? Or maybe even take a voice lesson. Where can you practice your singing and get the feedback that you need in order to improve? But just sharing your voice with other people who you respect will not alone make you a better singer. Let me give you an example. One of my students, Bethany, is the music director at her church. And Bethany's been singing for years. She's a phenomenal singer, but she still felt like she was lacking some control. Specifically, Bethany felt that she was still feeling kind of tight and strainy on her high notes. Without further ado, let's listen to Bethany.
Oh, say, can you see what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming and the rocket's red glare?
Now, as you listen to this, you probably hear that she's straining on those high notes in her voice, right? That's pretty obvious. But what you may have missed is that the notes on the bottom part of her voice are just a little bit light.
Oh, say, can you see?
And if those bottom notes are a bit light, then those top notes might feel less supported and she might feel like she has to strain more. That brings us to habit number 2. You have to know what the biggest obstacle in your singing voice is. In Bethany's case, it was that she was singing a little bit lightly on the bottom notes, which made her strain on the top. But if you're just getting started off, it can be kind of difficult to figure out exactly what it is that's holding you back and really analyze and listen to and critique your own voice. So how can you tell what's holding you back? Well, maybe record yourself and give yourself an honest critique. Are you off pitch? Are you straining? Are you light? Are you flat? Are you in falsetto? But remember to ask yourself why. I'm not just talking about knowing which note you break on or which songs are tough for you. I'm talking about knowing your bad habits as a singer and working to overcome them. It could be singing off pitch, straining as you go higher, or vocal tone, relaxation as you sing, or all of the above. But I have to warn you, it can be really difficult to find out the root cause of what's holding you back. Actually, you may even end up working on exercises that are making your voice worse. Just knowing your biggest singing obstacle isn't enough. Not too long ago, one of my students had this exact same issue. Michael is the lead singer of the screamo indie band Foxera, based here in Austin, Texas. And every time he goes up to high notes in some of these songs, he will just squeeze and tense his voice like crazy.
I wanna lose you, so stay with. Wow, that did not come out right.
So in this case, the problem is pretty obvious, that he's really squeezing and straining on those top notes, right? But remember, just knowing your biggest obstacle isn't enough to get you to the finish line. We actually need to fix it using vocal exercises. And so what I do is I listen to him sing and I think about, okay, which vocal exercise is going to do 2 things. Number 1, it's going to decompress his voice so that he doesn't feel like he has to squeeze so much. But at the same time, give him something to hold on to on those high notes so he doesn't feel like he has to just go to falsetto or strain. I give him a mum exercise, which does exactly what I want. It helps to relax his throat, but also help him connect up to those high notes in his voice without straining.
Mom, so stay with me tonight.
That's it right there.
That one felt really good.
Great singer habit number 3, you have to work with exercises that address your singing obstacles exactly. Which exercises do you work on to improve your voice? It all depends. Unfortunately, there's no one-size-fits-all exercise that works for every voice. But some exercises that tend to work really well for lots of different people would be the lip trill, the nay, 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 like neighbor, or the no, 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 like note.
No, 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 no.
Each of these exercises does totally different things, but every one of these singers now knows that these exercises will help them not only warm up, but also improve their voice to perform better. The tricky part of learning how to sing better is obvious. First, you have to share your voice with someone outside yourself. Then you have to figure out the biggest obstacle that's holding you back. Finally, you have to find which exercises address that obstacle exactly. When you enroll and master your voice, you'll get real-time feedback from an actual vocal coach on what's holding you back. But we don't stop there. You'll also get 62 step-by-step HD video lessons and 42 audio warm-ups to start to fix it. You can enroll right here.